Wilson, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jordy?
Doing good. Jay Johnson's debut couldn't have gone any better, right?
Absolutely not. That was an impressive weekend.
What was the most impressive part about it?
The way that they hit. You knew that Jay was known for his offenses dating back really his entire career. That's what he has done and what he's done extremely well. And yet still to see them come out and score 51 runs over a 3-game stretch, 21 yesterday alone. It's Maine, of course, and those teams from up north, particularly smaller ones, didn't struggle at the beginning of the year because they can't practice as outside as regularly as Southern teams. But, still even with all those caveats, 21 runs is 21 runs in one game and 51 over the entire weekend. That was incredible to see, just the way that they hit, the approach that they had at the plate, and the depth in the lineup was really amazing.
Blake Money on Friday I thought was as impressive as the offense was. What did you take away from his performance? Yeah,
for sure. To see somebody who was not on the roster for the postseason last year transform himself and turn into the pitcher that LSU, thought that they had when they recruited him, because he was him and Ty were probably the two biggest pitching prospects in the class last year, Ty Floyd, and yet they kind of had up and down freshman years, and Blake really didn't contribute a ton, but he's, as Jay kind of said after that game on Friday, it's like the story isn't so much that he transformed his body now, it's that he's a really good pitcher, and you can see why. He had 3 pitches working. He mixes them well. He was throwing a ton of strikes, 70.8% of his pitches were strikes. Had a great slider and fastball working, and just Maine's hitters didn't really know what was coming. And so to have somebody, if he can continue to pitch like that the whole year at the front of your rotation, gives you a great chance to win games.
When you see this lineup, how potent is it, and how potent can it be? I mean, you don't expect 50 runs a weekend, but I mean, what is the ceiling to look towards SEC and expect out of this mashing crew?
When I was before the opener, I was putting together our SEC baseball preview, and we did this thing where we pick out just the top 3 hitters, top 3 pitchers, kind of coming into the year. 2 of them were LSU guys, because maybe that's just seeing the team every day. Maybe some bias came through there, but when you have Jacob Berry and Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan as your top 3 hitters in the lineup, it's hard to match that it's going to be hard for another team to match that. So the potential in this lineup is really high to be one of the best, if not the best in the country by the end of the year in terms of, runs scored and that kind of thing. And you had some guys this weekend like Braden Jobert, didn't even start on Friday night, ended up probably being one of their best hitters for the weekend, that transferred from Delgado over the offseason. So this lineup can take them a pretty long way. You don't want to take too much just from one weekend and extrapolate over the course of the whole year. Like you said, they're not going to score 51 every weekend, but it's going to be hard for opposing teams to shut them down for long periods of time.
Jacob Berry, 2 home runs on Saturday. For him, he came in with such high expectation. How did you feel that he handled opening weekend in Baton Rouge? And I guess with that success, that kind of takes the pressure off of him to keep rolling, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Jacob's someone who's played baseball at a high level for a really long time. He's, on the USA collegiate national team last summer, and along with Dylan. And, he probably was never, Arizona was in the College World Series last year. He probably wasn't going to be overwhelmed by the stage at all. Yet he, was a little bit slow out of the gate on Friday, but it's one game and that kind of stuff happens. And then, like you said, to come out with 2 home runs. He's such an impressive hitter. His body is just so calm at the plate. His swing is smooth. He looks good from both sides. And typically you'll see him from the left side as a switch hitter. And to get a guy like that in the lineup as a transfer, just does amazing things for this team, because you got him, right in front of Dylan, who, you really can't pitch around him if you're an opposing team. And he's going to probably end up having a pretty good year. Those 2 home runs were great to see. And as he got rolling, he'll probably just continue to get better and better as the year goes on.
What did you make of their defense in the way that they were handling and moving people around? Do you think that they're still trying to find how they're going to handle what they look like defensively, just because of how powerful they all are offensively?
Yeah, that's the thing that's going to be really interesting to kind of watch over the next few weeks and is see how long Jay tinkers and moves people around. Palmineri, of course, was known for tinkering well into the season to try to find that lineup. We'll be curious to see how long Jay kind of does it, especially because he has so many pieces that he can go to. The thing is, the lineup might sort of subtly change day by day depending on who they face and what they do defensively. It might change because they probably have some lineups that they think are really good defensively versus really good offensively, depending on who's in there, who's doing what. And they get so deep that they have so many different things that they can try, and a lot of the options are probably pretty good. Think about Gavin Dugas, 19 home runs and 66 RBIs last year. He was in the bottom third of the lineup all weekend. They can do a lot of different things, and so the experimentation might last for a couple of weeks and maybe even into SEC play once you see how guys respond to that stage.
Much has been made of, I would say Blake Money had a bit of a personality last year. He seemed to be a guy that was loose in the dugout, had a good bit of fun. Then you see him come back in the cowboy hat. Has he lost any of that, or has he dove right in and, as opposed to being a Friday night starter and wanting to have a serious mentality? Or is this the same Blake Money we're going to get all year where he's one of the guys?
Oh, that's Blake Money. Yeah, that's his personality. He's just, his personality's huge, and that's probably never going to change. He did say, though, how he's gotten sort of better at controlling his emotions, which was necessary to become, a starter, in that, maybe not letting himself get too high, too low, pitch after pitch, which is, of course, one of the most essential things in baseball. He has learned to control that and harness it a little bit, but yet he's still going to be that big personality who's, kind of screaming and yelling coming off the mound after a 1-2-3 inning, pumped up after a big strikeout. Blake's always going to have that, and he's going to, probably be really fun in post-game interviews and other points of the season. I remember they kind of thought about him as almost like a Todd Peterson type last year, and he's got a little bit of that in him where he's just fun to be around. But he has harnessed that a little bit, which he had to do to become this sort of, frontline starter, and that was a positive thing to see.
Pulls off the cowboy hat too, which is tough to do. I know
he's got that Stetson rocking. Looks great.
That's a hard hat to pull off. When you look at the rest of the pitching staff, as far as the weekend goes and how they want to move throughout the midweek, you expect Helmers to go on Tuesday night versus Tech?
Yeah, he was one of the only guys who didn't pitch over the weekend, so that would be a logical choice. We don't know for certain at this point if that's who they'll go with. But they're pretty high. Jay's expressed some confidence in Helmers during the preseason, and so it wouldn't be a surprise to see him on Wednesday at all. But we don't know for certain yet.
Obviously, I want to go back to Blake Money real quick. Do you know what he did to lose all the weight in the offseason? Because he definitely came back, 15, 20 pounds slimmer, and it looked great on him. It looked like he could it's almost like he was preparing to be a Friday night guy.
Yeah, he lost 37 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Tiger Land will get you your first year.
That's a lot.
My colleague Leah Van has a great feature that dives into that even deeper than I can probably get into, on the Advocates website. But, it was kind of like he was talking about it post-game Friday where he really just had this kind of, get up and run. And, when he didn't really want to work out, make sure you get that workout in, get that extra running in. Do those little things to, sort of basic tenets of, losing weight where he, said no to the fried food, said no to the second plate of food, and increased his, workouts and maybe, the type of workouts that he was doing. And it ended up getting it to fall off, but it was a lot of discipline too, to make sure he stuck with it.
How big is tomorrow night's game?
You mean Wednesday against La Tech?
Wednesday, La Tech.
It's midweek games are never truly indicative of how a season's going to play out. But, La Tech was a good team last year and has been over the last 2 years. And, never put too much into a midweek game, really. But it's still important. Of course, every one of them is important. They want to win all of them. And continue to see how this lineup grows and how this pitching staff does on the midweek.
Wilson Alexander, he covers it for The Advocate.